Low ambient hum, almost subsonic, wind moving through trees, a faint, irregular knocking in the distance, not rhythmic, not consistent, just there. A dark hallway, only lit by moonlight through a window at the far end, but something in the darkness feels like it might. If you're thinking about buying a house in a small town, don't. Not if the neighbors won't look you in the eye. A neighbor staring blankly from their porch, not waving, not blinking. Not if the seller won't step inside, and definitely not if the basement door is already locked from the inside. At the very end, barely visible, a basement door. There's a heavy bolt across it. It shifts slightly, as if something on the other side just leaned against it. But now we realize it isn't distant. It's coming from behind the basement door. 3 knocks. Pause. 2 knocks. Pause. 1 slow drag down the wood. We thought it was just an old house. Silence. Old houses make noise. The handle on the basement door turns slightly. Slowly. Very slowly, even though it's locked. The screen cuts to black instantly. Silence. 1 second. 2. 3. A faint whisper in the dark. You came back. Deep, distorted bass hit. Cut to full silence. How it all started. The dream house. Morning birds. Distant wind moving through tall grass. Too quiet. No traffic. No dogs parking. No people. A wide shot of a narrow 2-lane road cutting through endless fields. At the end of it, a house. 2 stories. White paint peeling. Windows dark despite full daylight. We didn't mean to move somewhere like that. Cut to quick flashes of city life. Apartment listings refresh. Outbid emails. Claire rubbing her temples at the kitchen table. Emma asleep on a couch surrounded by packed boxes. We were outbid 11 times in 6 months. Pause. Every offer over asking. Every inspection waived. Every time. Someone richer. Arriving in town. The moving truck drives past a rusted welcome sign. No slogan, just the town name. Paint faded. Population number scratched out. The low hum from the cold open returns faintly under ambient noise. Then we found this place. Well below market value. Too low. 4 bedrooms, half an acre, fully furnished. We thought it was a miracle. Realtor standing outside the house, never steps onto the porch, forces a smile, avoids eye contact. Realtor. It's been vacant for a bit. Owners relocated, motivated to sell. Daniel. Why so cheap? The realtor hesitates just a beat too long. Realtor. Small towns don't hold value like cities do. Her smile tightens. She doesn't laugh. We never met the seller. Seller prefers remote closing. Seller will not attend final walkthrough. He refused to step inside. Beat. That should have been the moment we walked away. The neighbors. Moving day. Boxes coming off truck. Across the road, a man stands on his porch. Watching. Not waving, just watching. Another curtain shifts in a nearby house. A silhouette disappears. Claire. Friendly bunch. No one said welcome. Pause. No one said anything. First walkthrough as owners. Front door opens. The air inside is colder than outside. Not stale, not dusty, just still, like it hasn't been disturbed. It was fully furnished. Couch with slight indentation in cushion. Dining table set for 4. Books on shelves. A coat hanging by the door, as if someone stepped out mid-evening. Claire. Well, that saves us money. She spins slowly in the living room, trying to see charm, trying to see potential. The photos. Daniel walks down the hallway, stops. A series of framed family photographs. Different families, different decades, all hanging neatly. He steps closer. The glass is scratched, not cracked, scratched deliberately. Every face carved over, eyes gouged out, mouth scraped away. Just blank distortions where people should be. I thought it was vandalism. He touches one frame. The scratch marks are deep, repeated, almost obsessive. Claire? Daniel? He quickly sets the frame straight. I didn't want to be the one to ruin it. The basement door at the end of the hallway. Heavy wooden door, thicker than the others, reinforced with metal brackets. A sliding bolt across it, and beneath that, a second lock. Emma, what's down there? Daniel tests a knob. It doesn't turn. Claire, probably just storage. She kneels beside Emma. We'll check it out later, okay? Daniel notices something else. There are scratch marks around the handle. Old, deep. It wasn't the lock that bothered me. The bolt is installed on the outside of the door. Upstairs discovery. Bedroom hallway. Daniel opens the master bedroom. Normal. Second bedroom. Normal. Third bedroom. He pauses. There's a lock on the door, but not on the inside, on the outside, like someone once needed to keep whoever was inside contained. He checks another bedroom. Same thing. Heavy-duty slide locks, installed from the hallway. Every bedroom door had a lock. Pause, but only from the outside. Claire steps into the hallway behind him. It's just old, she smiles, trying to ground him. Old houses have weird stuff. Daniel nods, but his eyes drift down the hallway, toward the basement door. Even though it's closed, it feels like the darkest part of the house, like the house bends toward it. A faint thud from below, barely audible. Claire doesn't react. Emma hums to herself in another room. Daniel freezes, listens. Silence. We told ourselves we were lucky. The basement door at the end, still, waiting. We told ourselves we'd finally won. Beat. Night has fallen. The house looks different in the dark. The fields outside are swallowed in blackness. No streetlights, no passing headlights. Just the house. Standing alone. Night 1. Old wood settling. Wind brushing against siding. Daniel lies awake in bed beside Claire. The ceiling fan turns slowly, ticking once per rotation. The first night, I told myself the silence felt strange because we weren't used to it. A faint creak echoes from downstairs. Daniel stares at the ceiling. No traffic, no sirens, no neighbors arguing through thin walls. Another creak, longer this time. A soft knock at the bedroom door. 3 gentle taps. Daniel sits up. Emma? Daddy? He opens the door. Emma stands there clutching her stuffed rabbit. Her eyes are wide, not crying, just confused. Daniel? What's wrong? She looks past him into the dark bedroom behind him, then back up at him. Emma? Who was in my room? Silence. What do you mean? Emma. The tall man? A long beat. Daniel. There's no one here, sweetheart. Emma. He was standing in my doorway. Daniel kneels. You probably dreamed it. Emma shakes her head slowly. He was watching me. The ceiling fan ticks again behind them. Claire appears in the doorway, half asleep. Claire. Bad dream? Emma hesitates, then nods. Claire takes her hand. Claire. New house jitters. It happens. They tuck Emma back into bed. Daniel stands in her doorway for a moment after Claire leaves. The hallway behind him feels darker than it should. He turns off the light, closes her door. Later that night, Daniel lies back in bed, almost asleep. Then, slow, deliberate pacing downstairs. Not wood settling, not random. Footsteps. One end of the living room to the other. Pause. Turn. Repeat. Claire's eyes open. Claire. Do you hear that? Daniel listens. The pacing continues, measured, unhurried. Probably the house shifting. The pacing stops instantly. Silence floods the room. Claire stares at him. Claire, houses don't shift like that. Daniel forces himself up. He walks down the hallway. Each step creaks louder than it did during the day. The living room is dark, moonlight through the windows. Nothing out of place. He checks the kitchen, empty. Checks the front door, locked. Windows, locked. The house feels undisturbed. Too undisturbed. I wanted to feel stupid. He turns toward the hallway, toward the basement door. It's still closed, the bolt still drawn. He stares at it a moment longer than necessary, then goes back upstairs. Morning. Bright sunlight, birds chirping again. Everything feels smaller in daylight. More explainable. Emma eats cereal quietly. Claire scrolls her phone. Daniel walks down the hallway and stops. The basement door. The heavy bolt is still in place, but the door itself is open, just slightly, an inch, enough to show darkness inside. I know I locked it, he's certain. He remembers the metal sliding into place. He steps closer. The air near the door feels colder. He pushes it open slowly. The discovery. The basement light flickers when he turns it on. Concrete steps descend into shadow. He walks down carefully. Each step echoes. The basement is mostly empty. Concrete walls, old shelving, nothing alive, nothing moving. He exhales. Then he sees it. On the inside of the basement door, deep gouge marks, long, vertical, dozens of them, layered over each other, as if something with nails or fingers scraped and scraped and scraped. Trying to get out. Daniel runs his fingers over one groove. It's deep, not surface damage, wood splintered inward. These weren't on the outside. The scratches are only on the inside of the door, facing the basement. Claire's footsteps on the stairs behind him. She stops when she sees him staring. Claire, what? He steps aside so she can see. She studies the marks, tilts her head, searching for logic. Claire, it was probably the previous owner's dog. Daniel, they locked a dog in the basement? Claire, maybe it scratched to get out. People do that when they're renovating. Daniel scans the basement. No dog bowls, no chew marks, no fur, no pet smell, no gate, no toys, no evidence a dog ever lived here. There was no sign anyone had owned a dog. Silence hangs between them. Claire crosses her arms. You're looking for something to be wrong. She walks back upstairs, leaves him alone in the basement. Daniel looks back at the door. The scratches look almost frantic the longer he stares. He imagines fingers bending backward, nails tearing off, still scratching, still trying. The basement light flickers again. For a split second, the room seems darker, like the corners stretch deeper than they should. Then the light steadies. Nothing moves, nothing breathes, nothing exists except him. That was the moment I should have trusted my instincts. He walks upstairs slowly, closes the basement door behind him, slides the bolt into place. It makes a heavy, metallic sound, final, secure. Or so it feels. As he turns away, a soft, single knock from the other side of the door. He freezes, waits. Silence, still, unmoving. But something about it feels aware. Late afternoon. The house is quiet in that heavy, pressing way. Not peaceful, muted, as if it's listening. Emma's new friend. Emma sits cross-legged on the living room floor, crayons scattered around her. Sunlight stretches long through the windows. Daniel watches from the kitchen doorway. It started 3 days after we moved in, Emma hums to herself. Not a song Daniel recognizes. He steps closer. Daniel, what are you drawing? Emma beams, holds up the paper proudly. Daniel's smile fades slightly. It's a tall figure, too tall for the page. Its head bends sharply to one side, neck stretched at an unnatural angle, arms too long, hands with too many fingers. The fingers trail all the way down past its knees. Standing beside it, a small stick figure with yellow hair. Emma! Daniel, who's that? Emma answers casually, as if it's obvious. Emma, that's Mr. Long. A pause. Mr. Long? She nods, still coloring, adds more fingers. He lives here. Daniel's throat tightens. Where does he live? Emma points toward the hallway, toward the staircase. Under the stairs. Silence. Did you make him up? Emma frowns, almost offended. No. Beat. He's happy we came back. Daniel freezes. Came back? Emma nods matter-of-factly. He said it took a long time. Daniel investigates. That night, laptop glow in the dark kitchen. Daniel types the house address into search engines, property records, old listings, archived sales. The house had been sold 5 times in 8 years. Each listing photo looks slightly different. Different furniture, different paint, different families, but the house always looks dimmer. No one stayed longer than 11 months. His jaw tightens. He digs deeper. Old local news archives. A headline catches his eye. On screen, local family disappears. No signs of struggle. Daniel clicks. Grainy photo of a smiling couple and a young boy. The address listed beneath the headline. Their address. They were reported missing 2 weeks after moving in. No bodies found, no suspects. Case unsolved. The article mentions neighbors reported strange noises. The father had complained about electrical issues. Police found the home secure. Secure. Daniel leans back slowly. The house creaks. Claire stands in the kitchen doorway, watching him, arms crossed. Claire, you're still looking at that stuff? A family disappeared here. People disappear everywhere. She steps closer. You're scaring yourself. Emma says something lives under the stairs. Claire closes her eyes briefly. She's 6. Beat. She has an imagination. She said it was happy we came back. Claire's voice sharpens slightly. You're connecting things that aren't connected. She gestures around the house. It's old wiring, old plumbing, old wood. As if on cue, lights flicker overhead. They both glance up. The bulb buzzes, stabilizes. See? The house shifts. Montage over quiet music. A dining chair slightly angled differently in the morning. A kitchen cabinet left open. Emma's drawing moved from coffee table to staircase. The thermostat reading 5 degrees colder than set. Daniel walking through a sudden cold pocket in the hallway. He stops. Breath visible for just a second, then gone. It was never big things. Beat. Just small corrections. One night, Daniel walks past the staircase. He pauses. He swears he hears breathing. Slow, measured, from beneath the steps. He kneels slowly, looks at the small wooden access door built into the wall beneath the staircase. Painted over, nearly invisible. He touches it. The wood is freezing cold. He doesn't like when you listen. Daniel flinches hard, turns. Emma stands at the base of the stairs, watching him, not smiling, not scared, just stating a fact. What doesn't he like? Emma tilts her head slightly, mirroring the angle from her drawing. You. Silence floods the hallway. The overhead light flickers again. For a split second, the hallway appears longer, stretched, shadow pooling under the stairs, then normal again. Children don't invent things like that. Upstairs, a soft thud, like something tall brushing the ceiling. Claire calls down, "Claire, Daniel, did you move the dresser?" Daniel's eyes never leave Emma. "Emma, he said you stayed too long last time." The low ambient hum returns, almost imperceptible. Daniel slowly turns toward the staircase. The space beneath it looks darker than before, deeper, as if it extends further back than the house's layout should allow. We hadn't lived there before. Beat. Had we? Night. Rain taps lightly against the windows. Not a storm, just steady enough to drown out small sounds. Daniel stands alone in the hallway. The basement door in front of him, bolt still drawn. Second lock engaged. The house is quiet. Too quiet. I couldn't keep pretending. Emma's words echo faintly in his mind. He lives under the stairs. He's happy we came back. Daniel grips the metal bolt, hesitates, then slides it open. The sound is louder than it should be. Metal scraping metal. Final. He unlocks the second latch, places his hand on the knob. The wood feels cold. Not cool, cold, like it's been sitting in winter air. He turns it. The door opens slowly. The basement light flickers weakly when he pulls the cord. Dim yellow glow. Concrete stairs stretch downward. He steps carefully. Each footstep echoes too long. The air grows heavier with each step. Not moldy, not rotten, just stale, like something has been breathing it for a very long time. It looked empty the first time. He reaches the bottom, walks forward. Something feels different. He crouches, runs his fingers along the floor. The concrete is uneven, cracked. He knocks against it, hollow. Daniel scans the edges of the room. In one corner, the concrete has broken away, exposing dark soil beneath. He kneels and pulls at loose fragments. More of the floor crumbles. Underneath, packed dirt. Not foundation, not reinforced, just earth. Like the house was placed on top of something instead of built over it. Daniel stands slowly. His eyes adjust further to the dimness, and then he sees them. Metal rings bolted directly into the foundation walls. Thick iron chains attached. Heavy, industrial. Several of them, spaced evenly around the perimeter. All long enough to reach the center of the room. All scraped along the concrete, as if they'd been pulled tight before. No one installs chains like that for storage. He touches one. It's scratched raw in certain places, as if something fought against it hard. In the far corner, an old mattress, stained, sunken in the middle, not positioned like discarded furniture, placed deliberately, facing the stairs, as if whoever or whatever lay there wanted to see who came down. Daniel steps closer. The air here is colder. He notices the scratches, not just on the door, on the walls. Long gouges drag down concrete, some shallow, some deep enough to chip away stone. All around the mattress, above it, beside it, desperate, repeated. It wasn't trying to get out, Beat. It was trying to get to the stairs. Daniel's flashlight beam moves upward, catches a wooden support beam running across the ceiling. Something is carved into it. Over and over. The same words, layered on top of each other, cut deep, carved so many times the wood is splintered. He steps closer, reads it. Don't let him out. Again and again and again. Every inch of the beam, same phrase, different depths, different handwriting pressure, as if carved over months or years. Not don't go down, Not get out. Don't let him out. Daniel slowly turns in a circle, realization creeping in. The locks upstairs, the basement reinforcement, the outside-facing bolts, the scratched photographs, the missing families. This wasn't a haunted house. It was containment. Silence settles thick around him. Then a sound behind him. Slow, wet, measured breathing. Close, too close. Daniel freezes, doesn't turn immediately. The breath continues, right at shoulder height, as if something tall is standing just behind him. He can almost feel warmth against his neck. I wasn't alone. The breathing stops, complete silence. Daniel turns sharply. Flashlight beams slicing through darkness. Nothing there. Chains unmoving. Mattress still. Shadows exactly where they should be. Empty. He exhales shakily, half laughs under his breath. Get a grip. He turns toward the stairs. At the top of the stairs, the basement door. Slowly, quietly, begins to move. It swings inward, toward the frame, without a sound. Then slams shut. The sound explodes through the basement. Daniel lunges for the stairs, takes them two at a time, grabs the knob, twists. It doesn't budge. He rattles it, harder. The bolt scrapes into place on the other side, metal sliding, locking, from outside. Daniel stops moving, listens. Silence. Claire wouldn't do that. He pounds on the door. Daniel! Claire! No answer. He pounds harder. The wood reverberates. Dust falls from the ceiling. Then, from the other side of the door, very softly, a child's voice. Emma's voice. Emma. He doesn't like when you go down there. Daniel's blood runs cold. Daniel! Emma? Honey, open the door! Silence. Then a second voice, layered beneath Emma's, lower, stretched, almost overlapping hers. You stayed too long. Daniel backs slowly down the stairs. The basement feels smaller now, closer. The chains give a faint metallic rattle, without being touched. The dirt beneath the broken concrete shifts slightly, as if something below it just moved. The locks weren't to keep something inside. Beat. They were to keep it from climbing the stairs. The single basement light flickers. Once, twice, then goes out. Darkness swallows everything. The sound of slow breathing returns. Not behind him. Everywhere. Night. The house is silent, except for the faint hum that has become almost constant. Daniel sits at the kitchen table, staring at his laptop. The light from the screen flickers across his tense face. It wasn't just the basement anymore. Cut to upstairs hallway. Claire emerges from the master bedroom, barefoot, her eyes half closed. She walks slowly down the stairs, not like herself. Daniel? No response. She reaches the bottom of the stairs, stops, tilts her head unnaturally, whispers to herself, "It's okay. He just wants to come back." Daniel freezes. Her voice, it wasn't hers anymore. He reaches toward her, trembling. She turns slightly, but her eyes are glazed. No recognition. "Daniel, stop! Come back to me!" She tilts her head the other way, smiles faintly, then walks back toward the stairs, slowly, vanishing into darkness. Daniel hurries upstairs to check on Emma. Her bedroom is empty, panic rising. She wasn't in her room, not in the hallway, not anywhere. He checks the kitchen, the living room, closets, nothing. 10 minutes stretch into 15. Daniel! Emma. Footsteps echo faintly from below. He races to the basement. Basement. Door slightly ajar, though he locked it. He pushes it fully open. Emma sits in the corner, huddled, clutching her stuffed rabbit. "Emma, thank God! What happened?" She looks up at him, eyes wide, serious. "He doesn't like Daddy." Daniel's stomach twists. The locks weren't to keep anything out. They were to keep it in. Next day, Daniel walks the yard, pale, exhausted. A neighbor emerges from behind the fence. An old man with tired eyes. He stops, watches Daniel approach. "Neighbor, you shouldn't have bought it." Daniel's face tightens. "Why? What is it?" "Neighbor, it wasn't done." He steps back, refuses to explain further, turns and walks into his house, locking the door behind him. "No one would tell us. Not the seller, not the neighbors, not the realtor, not the papers." Daniel looks back at his house. The windows stare like dark eyes. The basement door gleams faintly in the morning light. He swallows hard. "Daniel, we weren't supposed to be here." House shifts again. Claire sleepwalks into the kitchen at night, humming a tune Emma doesn't know. Emma refuses to come upstairs after dinner. The house creaks as if someone or something is pacing constantly. Dust moves along the floor, subtly rearranged furniture. Shadows pool under doors, stretching longer than they should. The sense of being watched is constant. It wasn't a haunting, it was a warning. Daniel glances toward the basement door one last time that night. The bolt is still in place, but the air around it feels alive, cold, hungry, waiting. Daniel sits on the basement steps, trembling. Sweat beads on his forehead. The house feels alive around him, creaks, whispers, subtle vibrations through the floor. He glances at the basement door, locked, breathing shallow. Then his flashlight catches something odd along the far wall, a faint seam, almost invisible, in the concrete. I didn't know what I was looking for, but I felt it. Daniel presses against the wall, cold, solid, unyielding. He leans harder. Something gives. A loose panel swings inward. Behind it, a hidden crawl space. The space is small, musty, packed tight with shadows. Daniel steps inside, flashlight illuminating the interior. Old family photographs stacked against the walls. Each photo shows a smiling family. Decades of occupants. Father's face scratched away, repeatedly. Charcoal ritual symbols scrawled around the edges of each frame and onto the walls. Daniel runs a shaking hand over one photo. The scratches are deep, not random, intentional, obsessive. Every family, every father, gone. A thick leather-bound journal lies in the corner. He opens it. Dust falls like snow. Handwriting jagged, hurried. The previous owner believed something lived beneath the land before the house was built. They built the basement as a containment space. It cannot leave unless invited. It attaches to children first, then the mother, then it replaces the father. Daniel flips pages frantically. The final entry, smudged with old fingerprints. It learns your voice. The horror sinks in. Daniel drops the journal. The words echo in his mind. He glances upstairs. A faint sound of a voice, soft, familiar, calling him. "Claire, I'm downstairs." Daniel freezes, heart pounding. He turns to the basement door. Still locked. He is still in the basement. That wasn't my voice. The sound repeats, louder, clearer. "Claire, I'm downstairs." The beam of his flashlight shakes in his hand. Chains rattle faintly behind him. The dirt beneath the broken concrete shifts slightly, as if something is moving just below. Daniel backs into the hidden room, wall pressing against his back. Flashlight illuminating the scratched photographs, the charcoal symbols, the journal. His own voice calls from above again. "Claire, I'm downstairs." It was learning me. He chokes on a breath. Sweat drips into his eyes. The shadows in the corners of the hidden room stretch, almost reaching for him. Slow, wet breathing behind him. Not human. Close. The room feels impossibly small and alive. I wasn't the first to hear it, and I wouldn't be the last. Night. The house is alive with tension. Wind rattles the windows. The hum of the house pulses in rhythm with Daniel's heartbeat. Daniel stands in the hallway, flashlight shaking in his hand. Claire steps toward him from the living room. Her movements are deliberate, slow, unnatural. Her eyes meet his. Not the warmth he knows. "Claire, you're not him." Daniel freezes. His mind races. "Daniel, Claire, what are you talking about?" Claire tilts her head at an impossible angle. Her smile stretches too wide, too sharp, not human. Emma appears at the base of the stairs, holding her stuffed rabbit, silent for hours now. She tilts her head, staring at Daniel. Emma: "Mr. Long says you stayed too long." Daniel's blood runs cold. I finally understood. Daniel glances at a mirror along the hallway. Behind Claire, a shape. Tall, too tall, head bent at an impossible angle. Hands too long, fingers like claws. Smiling, wide, wrong. It's not Claire. It moves independently, almost mirrored, but not quite. "No, no, no, no!" The lights flicker violently. Power cuts out completely. Darkness floods the hallway. The house shifts, walls creaking, floorboards groaning, not just settling, not old wood, it breathes. The hallway stretches and compresses, doors rattle, shadows move as if alive. The temperature drops sharply. Daniel's breath fogs in the air. It isn't haunted. It's a cage. He staggers back, eyes darting. The scratches on the basement door, the hidden room, the journal, everything fits together now. And we opened it by moving in. Daniel spins toward the basement door. Bolt still in place, but he can feel it. Something behind it shifting, trying, waiting, learning. Claire steps closer, every movement unnerving, unnatural. Shadows of the tall figure stretch behind her. Emma watches, calm, too calm. The house groans like a living beast. Dust and debris float in the stagnant air. "Daniel, what do you want from me?" No answer. Just the creak of walls, the faint sound of chains rattling and breathing, not his, not human, everywhere. He stumbles backward toward the stairs. The house seems to shift beneath him. It doesn't need to kill us, yet. It only needs to learn. And now it has started with Claire. The flashlight flickers again. He sees the reflection one last time. The tall shape, head crooked, teeth too wide, smiling. Directly behind him now. Sudden power surge. Lights flash violently. Walls groan louder. Floorboards buckle slightly. The house inhales. Daniel realizes the house is the predator. The family is prey. Moving in was the invitation. Low, wet breathing. Faint whisper. "It's okay. You're next." Night. Thunder rumbles in the distance. Rain slaps the windows like the house itself is warning them. Daniel grips Emma's small hand tightly. Daniel reaches for the front door. Twists the handle. Nothing. The knob doesn't budge. He yanks harder. Metal groans. Door stays shut. It wasn't locked from the inside. It was locked from outside. He runs to the nearest window, tries to push it open. Nails bite into the frame, solid. All windows nailed shut. Daniel, Claire, help me. We have to go. He spins toward the staircase. Claire stands there, unmoving. Her head tilts at that impossible angle, eyes blank, smiling faintly. Claire, you're not him. Daniel freezes. Emma tugs at his sleeve. He sees movement, slow, deliberate. A shadow taller than the ceiling bends down toward Claire. Its neck stretches at impossible angles, hands dragging the floor. Its breath wet and shallow. Whisper, you were invited. Emma screams. Daniel spins. Daniel, Emma, run! He grabs her and sprints toward the basement. The basement door looms. He hesitates, heart hammering, then remembers the hidden room. If it was sealed once, it can be sealed again. He carries Emma into the hidden crawl space. Flashes of the scratched photos and ritual symbols loom in the dim light. Daniel, lock it tight. Don't listen to anyone, even if they sound like me. Emma slides the hidden panel into place. The wood grinds, bolt clicks, chains rattle, metal drags against concrete. Something heavy moves above the hidden wall. A long, distorted laugh echoes through the basement. We were trapped, not by walls, not by locks, by something alive, patient, and learning. Emma presses herself against Daniel. He wraps arms around her. The hidden room is dark. The house groans, breathes, laughs. Outside, something scratches at the wood, chains rattling, heavy, wet breathing. The door vibrates under the pressure. Daniel whispers again, "Don't listen, not to anyone who sounds like me." Emma nods, wide-eyed. They hear it outside the panel, a distorted voice, laughing and whispering together. The house exhales, then silence. Morning light filters through rain-streaked windows. The house seems quieter, too quiet. Officers responded to a welfare check early this morning. The house was empty except for the mother and child, father not located, no signs of struggle. Camera glides over, the front door locked, intact, windows nailed shut, basement door reinforced from the inside. Police officer. Neighbors reported unusual sounds during the night. No disturbances outside the house were observed. Camera pans over the living room. Chairs slightly angled. Dust motes in morning light. Faint scratches along hallway walls. Cut to Emma sitting at the kitchen table. Crayons scattered. Paper in front of her. Daniel's absence hangs in the room like a shadow. She draws deliberately, humming softly. Camera zooms over the page. 3 figures holding hands. One figure tall. One figure bent at the neck unnaturally. One figure resembling Daniel, but his face scratched out. He fits better now. Camera lingers on the drawing. Fingers of the tall figure stretch unnaturally. Bent figure tilts impossibly. Daniel's figure erased. Gone. Low static begins to rise. The humming distorts. The walls seem to breathe subtly. The camera slowly pulls back. Emma continues coloring, oblivious. The frame flickers. Some houses don't welcome you. They replace you. Static overtakes the screen. The 3 figures remain on paper, frozen. The tall one, the bent one, and the father's erased face. Distorted whisper overlapping with faint laughter. He fits better now. Truth or conspiracy?